All right, welcome everybody to a 99 stock match interview. My name is PGH Carroll. I've been doing these kind of long content interviews with top players and community members for a while now. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv / PGH Carroll. I do these live. I also upload them to YouTube. We have a super special guest that needs no introduction, so he's not gonna get one. No, I'm just kidding. The man who probably single-handedly saved this year with all the things going on, pandemic. Not that netplay was unplayable before, but man, you can almost never go back after what him and his team have done with Project Slippi and the rollback netcode. I can't talk highly enough about what him and his team do. The future is bright. We're going to get into a lot of questions and a lot of talking points. And we're also going to see some melee from Fizzi. And I always think it's cool to watch people that you may not know. But, I mean, we all love Smash and we all play Smash. And Fizzi, in a couple of just lag tests, he has a Falcon that can move, so that's also going to be interesting. I don't know if anyone really knows that Fizzi's got a hot Falcon, but we're gonna get him on a call here, and we're gonna start the process. So, buckle in if you want to watch the 99 stock. But you know what? This is also, I always say to people, this is very cool to just listen to in the background. It's going to be a lot of good talk, good stories, stuff like that. So, without further ado, let me get the man himself in here. Hello.
Hello.
All right, welcome to the stream. Like I said before, this man needs no introduction, so he gets none.
That's easier for me.
If you play Melee, you know who this guy is, especially right now. We were just saying, I think you saved the year. And not that netplay was unplayable before, but how could you ever go back? You know what I mean?
I haven't tried personally, but I imagine I wouldn't enjoy the experience.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let me...
Thank you.
No problem. So, not only you, but your team, and before we even get into that, let's get into what we're about to do here. Now, I do want to mention, so I ran a poll to see what kind of matchup we were going to play, and I do want to make whatever the outcome of this is, it is in two ways your fault, because not only when it was just within my circle of influence, my followers, my reach, Peach was winning when it was just in my realm, and then when Fizzi,
I retweeted it.
When Fizzi retweeted it and brought it the attention to his circle, a dark horse of an option rose to the ranks, and Random is actually the winner. So we're going to be playing Random, and not only did your circle influence this, but I think you have a big hand in how Random works in this in this program.
Sort of.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of. Yeah. I blame my followers too. You guys are the worst.
Well, you know what? There's still hope for one of the characters I was gonna play anyway.
Yeah, there is. There's one character I really hope you do not get. We'll talk about it if you get him.
All right, so I guess there's no better time to do it than now. There was no setup before this. As someone who has played Random in tournaments and locals and bigger stuff, now that I've gained such a appreciation for the cast, sometimes, and don't tell anyone, I have done where I select a character and then press B over here, where it's like, oh, guess it gave me Fox. How lucky for me when I really needed it. But nothing has been set up like that. This is going to be a straight A press, and this is the fate of the next hour or so. No.
All right.
Oh, we can work with this. I can work with this. Now, usually how we would determine a stage, we just kind of talk about it now. There were two ways I used to do this. We used to just strike straight up. But also, sometimes when you strike, you kind of find somewhere neutral and somewhere maybe you don't want to be over the course of an hour, right? So we can kind of decide on what we want to do, that'll take time. So let me quickly think about Mewtwo, Falcon, for a second.
Oh, God. Okay.
I don't think FD gets kind of stale for a while.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be FOD or Dreamland. What do you think about those two?
Out of those two, I would probably play Dreamland.
Okay, I'm down with that, and me and my Mewtwo are down for that.
All right, that sounds good.
All right, so is in my corner. And again, thanks for stopping by and playing Melee. I always, this is kind of just from me. I've always, without tournaments and without kind of now that I'm a father and I'm, kind of transitioning away from tournaments as much. I can't go to everything like I used to, and I miss it for sure. But I've always been such a fan of meeting people and going to these big tournaments and making a fool out of myself, but meeting some cool people in the way. So thank you for stopping by.
Of course. I think this is a cool idea. It's fun. Yeah. I've actually always liked long stock formats or endless time for practice reasons. I think it just generally it makes you care a little bit less about the individual stocks. And so you're more willing to try things and experiment and stuff. So
don't worry. I have never needed a stock count to experiment.
For some people, I'm sure that's not a problem.
All right. Everything feels good. I do want to mention again that I am currently living about 10 minutes outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Oh my goodness. And Fizzi, I told you before we started, this guy brings hot fire. No one believed me. But, yeah, we're playing across the country, which is such a crazy,
Yeah,
reality.
I think that's the major difference, right? It's like imagine doing that in the old net play. Like I think before you could play the old net play and it was fine if you were pretty close to your opponent.
Yeah.
But
for sure.
But this we could not have done in a reasonable way, I think.
Yeah. Oh. No. All praise to you and your team. Praise to Nikki who made this specific little mod, not that by you guys the standard, you actually said earlier, which I got a good chuckle out of, was it was like, do you need me to send you this program or you already have it? And he's like, I bet you I can make it real quick, but save me 2 minutes and just send it to me, which I thought was very not a crazy mod, just doing the stock.
Yeah, but I mean, I think without trying to get too technical, there's just a very simple game info block that gets sent to both players, and it's kind of hard coded right now. So you just have to change the right byte basically to change the stock count. So I would have had to look up what that byte is, which index it's at, and then I would have had to change it. But
oh my god.
Ooh.
I gotta buckle down on Mewtwo. It's gonna get better here. Don't worry. I can do stuff like this.
There it is.
Ooh. I might get beat worse than Zane had the record, obviously, because nothing's touching
that guy's
Zane.
Insane.
Yep. But yeah, we'll take it. But let's talk about how we got to 2020 here. I've been doing my research kind of all day. I know, and I'm gonna start off this story for you, and then you could take the reins where you were.
Sure.
casual melee player, like a lot of us. Maybe, you know, the best in your high school or something to that extent. Or played it as a kid, like we all do. Some of the best stories.
Yeah.
And then Brawl comes out, and Brawl is, you know, hot in the streets. Everyone, you know, is playing Brawl. I actually, before I get into your story, I have a quick little story about Brawl. And I believe you and me both kind of started in the same area. I think my first tournament was in like early 09, yours in 08 sometime, so.
Yeah.
But we probably were playing casual melee around the same time. And I remember my GameStop tournament for Brawl's release, right?
Yeah.
It was, you know, I just saw a flyer. I was super excited. I mean, we were already excited about Brawl because we loved Melee so much, and we played it with all our friends. And the GameStop tournament happens, and I'm so excited. I was practicing. When you have no scope of competitive play and you're just like the best in your friends, I literally was doing a 99-man melee to practice for this Brawl tournament. I've never had any sort of, you know, competitive experience. So I'm playing 99 melee. I get to GameStop. I'm so excited. I remember that I got there. I was like, I want to play in the tournament, and they were like, did you pre-register? And I was like, no, I didn't. Is that a problem? It's like, yeah, well, you're actually the 33rd person here, and we're only going to do a 32-man bracket. So, man, and not that I was anything special then, but I watched some really bad. I think the winner of my GameStop tournament was a Bowser. It was,
yeah.
It was just like a Bowser player, and so whatever. I mean, I was very upset because I definitely feel like I could have won it, and I don't know. You probably just won like a plushie or something horrible. But
right.
I get the game home, and I didn't have a Wii at the time, but my buddy had a Wii, and his Wii could not read this dual-layered disc, which Brawl was one of the first two-layered discs for the Wii. And so I had this game, and I couldn't even play it. And it was months before I could even play the game, which is super funny. And you know what? It was so long, I just started getting into competitive melee, like, kind of after that. So it was kind of like the game not working and all that stuff, like, working against me that kind of got me here, too. I never really looked back.
Yeah.
But anyway,
cool.
So now Brawl comes out. You were a casual melee player playing with your friends, and you got your start into Brawl. How? What?
Yeah, I mean, specifically, I think I had one friend that I went to high school with in New Jersey. His name's Eddie, so shout out to him.
Hell yeah.
Or Ed. And so he was a little older than me. I think he was a year older than me. And he had done like 1 year in college, and I think in college he played. He got into competitive melee, like before. This is before Brawl's release, right? And I think he was playing against somebody named Slick Vic, which some people might know, maybe. And so he was playing against him in melee, and then Brawl came out. So he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try Brawl, right?" And he was already a little bit in tune with the competitive scene. So when I went home for like summer vacation or whatever. I started playing Brawl with him, and I went to some tournaments. And my first Brawl tournament, I actually played against Mewtwo I played against Mewtwo King's DDD, and I lost miserably. This was before Mewtwo King switched characters. At first, he played DDD. And so, yeah, so I played against that. I was playing, I think, Toon Link at the time. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. The tournament experience was pretty fun. You know, I enjoyed being there, and I remember Magus too was on a CRT in the corner playing melee, and I was very confused at the time. I was like, why? Why is somebody playing melee?
Yeah, Brawl's out. I mean, haven't you seen the news?
Yeah.
But what? Yeah.
Well, I mean, now I get it, of course. But back then, I didn't quite get it.
That's always been a kind of interesting thing where a new game comes out, and I always say that there's Melee players and there's whatever Smash game is out, because no one plays Brawl and no one plays Smash 4 anymore, right?
Yeah.
You know, there's.
I mean, 60. You could argue for 64 a little bit, but yeah.
I was about to say that's you know, after Melee, you know, Brawl. I mean, back in the day, people rode for Brawl. They were saying Brawl's not that bad. Brawl is this and that, and I don't mind Brawl. I actually like Brawl.
Yeah, I think it's a fine game. I think generally. I mean, even me having played it competitively and sort of like switching to Melee, it's still. I think it's still a fine game.
Right, I definitely have fond memories. I played a couple Brawl tournaments. Obviously, nothing too special at it, but I'm not upset that it was different. You know, if I wanted to play Melee, I'll play Melee. I don't need Brawl to be like Melee, you know, so. But I think all the games after Melee were so kind of like similar that, you know, why would we play Brawl when we could play Brawl 2? Or, you know, right now we have Brawl 3.
Yeah, I feel like Melee is the exception in the sense that I think every other game, and I mean, some people that are hardcore for a specific game might disagree, but like felt more like an upgrade than anything. Whereas I think for a lot of Melee players, Brawl felt like a downgrade, which is why it's a little bit different. So it's like if you feel like the next game is kind of an upgrade, why wouldn't you play that?
Right.
But of course, I was never super in tune with like the Smash 4 scene and everything, so maybe maybe my opinion isn't super well informed there, but
yeah. No, I get you. All right, so first tournament you're playing Mewtwo King. Again, my heart goes out to you. I've played more games against Mewtwo King in Melee than I care to remember, because they're just always bloodbaths. I know that he was such a force in Brawl, even though he probably didn't show as much, but I mean, he was #1 in that game too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, especially at first, he was #1 until Ally showed up. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, so you go to your first tournament, and then I remember, and this is gonna sound funny, I was reading your old Smash Sports Force.
Oh boy.
Right.
Oh
and,
no.
You knew you were going to Montreal, was it right?
Yes.
Yes. There was a tournament up there, and you're like, I'm gonna try and convince, you know, I think I'm on vacation or, you know, my summer in New Jersey, but I want to come up early for a tournament. And
yeah.
So what brought you to Montreal? You went to school in Montreal.
Correct. Yeah, I went to McGill, which is a university in Montreal.
All right. So I forget. Did you make it to that tournament?
You know, honestly, I forget. Do you know the name of the tournament? Because
only in Nigeria too. Is that the name of it?
So that is probably one of my first tournaments that I actually traveled pretty far for. And I think I got 9th in Brawl at that tournament. I forget how many people there were. I want to say like 100-ish.
Ooh, that ain't bad.
So it wasn't bad for my first like traveling tournament. I also drove there. It was like a 9-hour drive, and I had a bunch of people from Montreal, and it was a long drive.
Oh yeah, no.
A lot of people, I think, in the U.S. think like Canada. Oh yeah, like they play each other all the time, right? But like, I mean,
yeah, no, I definitely.
Yeah, Canada's like bigger than the U.S.
It's about what, a 5-hour drive from Montreal to like Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the length of that drive to Ontario, where Niagara, where we went. It was I think it was like 9 hours.
Yeah, no, man, I miss the good car rides, and I do not miss the bad car rides that were, I don't know, just maybe going there was always fun, but then coming back was always such a, you know, car ride.
And everyone else is asleep, and you're like, oh god, you gotta stay awake.
You're driving.
Yeah.
No one's there keeping you any.
Yeah.
Company, no. And then, I don't know, I've had car rides, you know, with my buddies, it's always great, but I've also been a part of just regular Smash car rides where everybody to their standard, underperformed, and everyone was kind of mad, and we are just like,
Yeah.
you know, this character sucks, and blah blah blah. I swear, I'll never.
Yeah.
Quick note: this Mewtwo is. I feel like when I don't know what to do, I'm just like, let's just throw Falcon off stage, and you've been living on it. Sometimes I get lost in conversation, but
Oh, yeah. I think this matchup is I think it's tough for Mewtwo for sure.
Oh, yeah,
you're just a huge body.
I do not mind Mewtwo actually. Against Space
Yeah.
or something like that, but Falcon is specifically rough for.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of matches are specifically like you can't play, even though Falcon is a fast faller, you can't play the same way against because he's heavy too. He's not light like Fox and Falco.
Yeah.
So things like throw combos, some work, some don't, things like that. But all right, so we're starting to do some brawl things in your life. Go into bigger tournaments. You're in university.
Yes.
So what happens next? Where do we go from there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I remember someone in my dorm was able to get like one of the early access Japanese releases or whatever of Brawl. And this was probably, I guess, before I started taking Brawl seriously, right? But I think, in college, I think before Brawl came out, I was playing, actually, even Melee in college, but, less seriously. Although, that was around the time when I started talking to my friend that I mentioned before. And also, I remember specifically watching, a Ken versus Bomb Soldier video, right? Probably the first competitive Melee video I saw, and I was like, oh, this is kind of crazy. But I still don't think I was like, oh, I'm gonna learn how to do this, because I was like, I'm just gonna play Brawl when it comes out because it's coming out, you know. So yeah, I mean, I get involved in the Brawl scene. Montreal had a bi-weekly, and I think I was doing pretty well at the bi-weekly. And then I would go to tournaments, and I met a bunch of people, and some of them I'm still friends with. But eventually, I think I played Snake at the time. I played Snake early on, and then I switched to DDD. And I think I specifically remember there was one tournament where I lost and I got camped, and I was just like, oh god, it's so hard to just get in and grab people because that's what you want to do.
I could tell from watching a little bit. I watched a little bit of your DVD today,
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did.
No, you went deep. You went deep. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, you had the fundamental chain grabs down. You got them to the edge and you tried to do some grab release stuff. The edge guards were there. I mean, I'm a little familiar with Brawl. I played Zero Suit Samus in Brawl. Definitely thought it was such a cool character, and ooh, the reverse hitbox. Oh no, I'm done for. They'll never take it seriously again. But yeah, no. Was a big fan of Brawl just because I knew that I never really took it that seriously, and
yeah.
So you were saying before I interrupt you kind of hit a wall. You're like, people are camping me.
I think it's specifically. I think at that tournament, there was also Brawl was upstairs, Melee was downstairs, and I was just starting to get interested in Melee. Maybe this was after Genesis as well, because I remember watching Genesis, and I think Genesis was kind of one of the turning points for me, where I was like, holy shit, this game is so sick, right? Right. And so I started playing it a little bit more, maybe with the Brawl players or whatever, and I went downstairs, and I remember there were some top Toronto players there too, I played Raynex a little bit, I think, and so on, and I had a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun hanging out, on the Melee, downstairs in the Melee section. More so than I had fun, playing in the Brawl event. And I think that's when I started practicing Melee a little bit more. And the people I would play with back then were so sort of my mentor is Chester01 or Reggie, who's an old school player. I think he went to OC3.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and also I played with Kage a bit back then as well. You know, I'm obviously listing names that people will know. There's other players too, and also less so, but a bit later I played with PKM Vodka, who some people might know. Very early Donkey Kong player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely look that guy up. He's very cool.
yeah.
But
So I started practicing a little bit, and you know I started playing just more melee and less brawl, and I think I guess that was kind of it, right? It's like
yep. Once you get a
game.
taste, there's
Yeah,
always that moment, and I remember mine very specifically too, where you're practicing melee and you're getting better at it, and you finally do, a sequence of
yeah.
something where you practice it and it finally just happened and you didn't think about it, you just did it, right?
Hmm.
I remember mine super specifically when I actually started out playing Falcon casual, and then into when I started learning advanced techniques, I switched, like wave dashing was something big, right? And I played Falcon, and wave dashing, I could do it, but back then to me, I was like, what's the point of wave dashing if I only go like this far? You know what I mean? Falcon
Yeah,
had
yeah,
like
yeah.
the craziest wave dash, and my
Hmm.
favorite thing about Falcon was his down air. All of my friends, I just got them off stage and I down aired them, and that was king.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a the first documentary. There's a funny little clip of me where I talk about, and it's true how I saw the Ken combo and I literally switched to Marth right there, because just the way that he spiked him and he set up the spike in such a simple,
Yeah.
cool looking way.
I feel like Mart's flow is just so cool. Like the way that character flows into his moves.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Uh, but yeah, so back to we were talking about that moment of clarity. So I did like just this kind of standard Marth combo. I wave dashed to the edge, and I did like a rising dare on someone's recovery, and it was right there. I was like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? I think I like
Yeah, yeah.
it's something that's so standard and so unremarkable now. But
Yeah.
made my whole night. I just couldn't get enough after that. I know, and like even the people I played with, like from my high school, like I had a buddy who, shout out to Londell. We definitely played a lot, and at times it was like I just wanted to play so much, and like he was like normal and just wanted to play here and there. I wanted to play all the time. I was just
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I can't get enough of this. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I think at first you get hooked for sure. Yeah.
super super relatable. So yeah,
Yeah.
now you got the melee in your blood. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah, I think
practicing.
for me, kind of a similar sort of story is about like kind of the normal stuff being so cool. It's like I remember early on when I was playing Reggie and even Kage or whatever, and they would play me with Falcon, right? I think maybe at first I kind of tried like Ganondorf or some easier character, right? Like a little slower. But the stuff they would do to me with Falcon, I was like, oh my god! Like it's probably super standard, right? I don't super remember, but I was just thinking it was the coolest thing, and I was like, I just want to do this. This is the best.
And it's been Falcon
And so
ever
that,
since. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So about what year are we talking that you had the melee epiphany? You got a taste and
Oof. Yeah, like I said, I think it's a bit after, probably after Genesis. So that was like, what, Genesis was like 2009?
yes.
Is that right?
Hmm.
So I would say probably 2009, 2010 was when I was really starting to play Melee.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're kind of on the same timeline. My first tournament was in '09. I tell the story all the time, but my first melee set was against Dreffen, and he's a super funny guy, and
Yeah.
I still remember to this day. Kind of, he has that very distinct voice, kind of high pitched, and he's like, "Oh, you know what I mean?" Because back then the rule set was you random first stage out of like the current starters
Right.
there that and then there were a
Yeah.
bunch of crazy ones. Oh, and he's like, "Oh, I'll ban Poke Floats," and I was just like,
Yeah,
got handed for sure, like everyone kind of does their first time around, unless you play a lot before. I just jumped straight in. Like I said, I couldn't get enough melee. Had to go to a tournament. you know, my buddy, I made him go. We drove 3 hours to it, but yeah, nothing too remarkable there. All right. So when you were getting into Melee more, did you still kind of do both? Because you know, you put your time into you know, something like Brawl for a while, and
yeah, and I was good at it, right? Or like at least better. Whereas in Melee, I was garbage. So, yeah, I tried to do both. I think for a little bit. You know, maybe that tournament I mentioned earlier with the upstairs downstairs is when I really decided, like, okay, I think I'm done with Brawl, and I think I'd have to check the dates as to like what tournaments I entered because it's a little fuzzy. But yeah, I think you know, I think I kind of tried to do both even when I was playing some Melee, and then I was just like, I don't think I want to play Brawl anymore.
And never looked back, huh?
Yeah, I mean, Melee is an incredible game. I think there's a lot to be said with that feeling of like just being so kind of like so proud of something you did, right? Like you're just like you've worked for hours and hours and hours, and like you finally do something that's like remotely cool that you're proud of, and it's just such a good feeling. And I think
amazing. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, and I think there's yeah, right. And I think there's not like, I mean, you can get that in probably any game, but I think some games, oh my god, some games are more likely to provide it, I think, to a large degree. And, you know, Melee aside, another game I really, really love, like probably the only game that I personally consider even close to Melee's like quality is Rocket League. And I think Rocket League definitely also provides that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I can't really speak too much on that. Anyone who knows me, especially my close friends, know that it's so crazy. When people that I meet, I kind of tell them, yeah, I'm really into this game, and I want to let you know that it's just this game. Like, I mean, I have never like put this into like this year, even in a pandemic and everything shut down. I did not play a single game of Fall Guys, Among Us,
right.
You know, Rocket League, all these things my friends are playing. You know, it's a little joke between me and them where they're like getting together, like, all right, we're playing this tonight, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be there, and I never show up. I don't know, I just
yeah.
It's always been Melee for me. It's always I've never played a game. You know, in real life, I'm into a lot of sports, and I've always said that Melee is closest to my favorite sport, which is basketball. Because you know, there's these rules, but then there's so much personality in the way you move and the way you do things, and you know, it's just like this, you know. So
yeah,
definitely a Melee purist at heart, even to a fault. I'm also, people that know me well know that I am a big, very outspoken vocally about I don't really like PM, even though you know the idea is there, right? But there's something, and without getting into that too much, I've always just kind of said, you know, I love Melee because they gave you these tools. They gave you these characters and stages, and that's it. And we created the meta. We decided this move is good, and we're going to use that a lot. And this combos into this, and just all they did was make a game. Nintendo thought the Falcon, you know, should be played the way the computer, the level 9 plays, Raptor boost, you know, down throw, and then just, shit. I was trying to work on that. But yeah, and we created the game. And then when you look at, you know, Project M, you know, the idea is there, but, you know, I feel like they kind of got carried away early with some of the characters and some of the things. And it just didn't feel as like, you know, there was no discovery there because like the moves were programmed to work in like a cool way and like combo into this, and this one was supposed to be strong. And you know, it's okay for characters to be bad, you know, especially in Melee. As you're seeing right now. But and even, you know, people always say that Melee has, you know, there's like, oh, Melee's boring. There's only like, you know, 4 or 8 characters that people can even play.
Dude, I feel like the people that say that think there's like one.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, I feel you.
And the same people that are saying that are always the same people that are like, you know, they play Ultimate and they're like, God, I hate this character in this matchup and I gotta know this and that. And I'm like, yeah, you know, your brain can only really like handle like, you know, knowing 10 matchups like that. You know what I mean? How is anyone supposed to know like 60 matchups?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I've always felt like a game that has less characters is not inherently worse. Like, it keeps the meta interesting. I mean, if you think about like even a game like Brood War, right? Brood War had 3 races, and that was fine. Obviously, a very different game, but like, you know, you don't need. I don't think you need that much.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, like I said, I think it's okay for characters to be bad. I mean, and who's to even say, you know, some characters bad? Because throughout Melee's history, we have seen people do amazing things with low tier characters. I mean, you're seeing in this present day the Roy, you know, come alive, and it just takes people like that to like put in the work and you know, be dedicated to it and, you know, change people's minds. I remember there was once upon a time when people thought Melee Yoshi was, you know, maybe mid-tier, but probably low-tier, definitely low-tier. And man, Amsa, to me, was so impressive for so long.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, just people like that.
And I think to a lesser degree, even characters like Peach and Puff and so on, right? Like,
like where would Peach be without Armada and you know, stuff like that? Like, I think about that all the time.
The truth is we don't know, right? So, you know, yeah, it's crazy.
So we touched a little on PM and stuff around like that. Did you ever, because you played Brawl and you played Melee, did you ever find the appeal there? Like, get really into it? Was there a scene in like your local scene for it?
Okay, so I will say I wouldn't say I really ever got really into it, but I did play it. I think like when it came out, you know, and it was pretty popular. And being a Brawl player and sort of a Melee player mix, it kind of made sense to play it and try it. And you know, there were times where I would have Smash Fests or whatever, and we would play PM or, you know, and I think that's fine. But I don't think I ever took it very seriously. I'm not even sure if I ever competed in like a tournament for it or anything. And it was pretty fun, but I mean, I also agree that like Melee is just there's something about Melee that just feels so perfect.
Yeah,
and I think PM didn't have that. I think especially if I played like Falcon, right? I just felt like he felt kind of robotic. Didn't quite feel the same. And so yeah, it just wasn't the same to me. I actually ended up just playing DDD in that game too, which was funny, but I don't think he was very good.
I actually, in my very brief, you know, I mean, you at least gotta try something before you realize you don't care for it.
Yeah.
I think I played a couple PM tournaments, like maybe 2 or 3, and you know, it doesn't take before someone that you can murder in Melee for some reason just start beating you in PM, and you're like, alright, this makes no sense, right? I'm like worlds better than you. You can't touch me in Melee, but you obviously read your character's manual or something, and now you know 1 + 2 + 3 = 6, and it's very frustrating. But I do remember I did like I like DDD, and I played a little Mario. He was kind of like a hybrid of
Mario's
Doc
cool.
and Mario. Early PM, and then anytime I was forced to play PM, which sometimes, you know, I got a buddy who was really into it, and I had some PM players that, I mean, I got into. I was kind of very vocally against PM, so you know, sometimes I just wanted to try to beat the the PM players in my region, but I really couldn't. I just I played Falco, kind of tried to make it like a Melee point of it. Yeah,
it's also kind of like I think my lack of general interest, and that's not to say people that like it like shouldn't like it, right? Like if you like your game, play your game by all means,
Yeah,
But
sure.
but at least like my personal preference is obviously melee, and I've had questions about like oh, can you implement rollback for P plus or brawl or whatever, right?
Right.
And I've actually had it for like a bunch of games, not just like completely random other games. People email me, like for example,
what is the strangest email you've got?
I think one of the good ones was Mario Strikers, the soccer game, right?
Do they have a thriving community?
I don't know whether they have a thriving community or not, but this guy and his friends are really into it, and that's cool. But the thing is, though, it's like it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, and it's like I just love melee, and I want to support melee, and that's what I'm gonna keep doing. And I don't want to spend my time. I'm willing to like answer questions and stuff, but I'm not going to spend my time trying to develop it for any other game.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even think about. I think I've seen you kind of talk about like people hitting you up for like developing, but I'm just imagining these are just like a group of kids, like high school kids that are really into strikers, and they're like, oh
yeah,
man.
I think they're older than that. I feel like that's just the game that stuck with them, and that's awesome. But like it's just a lot of work.
Give me a figure. Yeah. Give me a number that would be like, yeah, I'll make your net play Mario Strikers for this absorbent amount of money.
No, yeah, it would take so much money for me to be willing to do it. It's like, I think it has to be on the order, like nearing 1 million, because I just like it. My time is worth so much to me. Like I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe I could probably haggle for less than 1 million, but you get the point. It's a lot, right?
Right. Yeah, especially
more than I'm comfortable even requesting.
Well, figure out that number, and now you know how to respond to emails. Just all you have to do is say that number. They'll say, "Hey."
Yeah, but like I said, I don't even want to. I just like feel bad. It's like it's like a ridiculously so overpriced.
No, like you said, your time is the most valuable thing on the planet. Not a cent of money has ever gave another like minute of time. There's an actual. Is it Iron Man that said something like that? I don't know.
I don't know.
Into that kind of shit?
I mean, I've definitely seen some Marvel movies, but I would not know the quotes.
The people, they'll know the quotes, but
Yeah.
So that's another thing we can talk about. So a question that I had coming into this was like, do you have any funny stories or funny like messages or emails from top players or like anyone like in the community about Slippi? Like, has someone like a Mango reached out to you and been like, this is like sick, you know what I mean, or something? Do you have any?
No, I don't think so. Not like explicitly. I wouldn't say any top players have, but I mean I get a lot of messages. I mean, obviously, like this may be like an unfun answer, but some of my favorite messages are just people that are really thankful, right? Like people that are like maybe live in very secluded scenes like the Middle East or like whatever, right? And are just like they're just like I didn't have anyone to play before, right? I would just like play against the computer, and now I can actually like play people, and it's so great. And I think that's super fun. It's those are great messages from top players. Not so much.
Well, they should be. I don't get it. You're keeping them alive, and
I think the only one, especially recently, was None, which obviously, like with the sort of the free melee stuff or whatever, I think None really wanted to help and see how he could potentially help, and just like send me tons of walls of text and stuff about things that could do, which was kind of. It's I appreciate that like people are wanting to help. I know they're like doing it out of goodness, right? It's just like at the same time, for me personally, right? I hear it all the time, over and over again from different people, and it gets a little hard. It's like to just hear over and over again.
Right. So you're talking about like kind of people making like suggestions about like what you should do
Yeah.
next, like with your time, which
Yeah.
okay, yeah, let's get into that. So I got a list of no, I'm just kidding. But so earlier this year, I believe it was it June 22nd? Was that the day? Or am I making that up? Somewhere around that time.
That it released?
Yeah.
That sounds around the right time frame. I don't know the actual date though.
Yeah, I definitely remember coming home from work and like hearing the hype about it kind of on Twitter while I'm at work, and I'm like, oh, I want to get home and try this out.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a different kind of hype than, you know, oh, there's a new faster melee or Slippi or, you know, something like that.
Yeah. I had been playing it for a while, and this sort of like something that kind of touches on what, like the thing before. I remember I was at Summit, right? Because I was invited to just hang out at Summit.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to Wizzy, and he was like asking me. First of all, Wizzy and Mewtwo King always ask me if I can lower the audio delay, right? Because they're always upset about the audio delay. And he was like,
Wizzy.
yeah, I think Wizzy was like, I think that's the only problem with netplay right now, right? And meanwhile, I'm building rollback, right? And I'm like playing it and stuff, and I'm like, no, I think there's like. I think netplay could be a lot better than it is now, and I didn't want to say it at the time, but it was just an amusing moment for me because it's like people don't know how much better it could be.
Right.
But I think after the release, people really started to realize it. I know that even at first, Mango was saying that like, oh, I feel like I'm not going to even notice a difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think now he.
The guy that was streaming through OBS and playing Melee through OBS when he was starting the streaming,
Yeah, which would be a good argument for his case, but yeah.
Oh yeah, well yeah, definitely, you know, the biggest leap as far as, you know, quality in netplay at a time where we needed it more than ever, you know. Like I said, netplay wasn't unplayable by any means, but it really just opened the door.
I think for me, the most exciting thing is probably even more so as a spectator. Like, when I was watching netplay tournaments before the rollback release, it wasn't good Melee. Like, it was just like people were like flubbing and like, it's just very questionable. Even region locked, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think after rollback, when people started running some tournaments, and like, for example, if you watch Summit, like those sets were amazing. That's like some of the best Melee I've ever seen, and it's just so exciting to have that in a time where like it had been so long, and you know, watching good Melee is always great. Anyway, I think I interrupted your original where you were originally going with this, so we can sort of backtrack.
Please, when I give you the train, just take it. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I think I was just getting into, you know, how we felt when it first came out, and, you know, these new features, you know. I'm sure you've gotten tons of feedback. I love seeing the names there, you know what I mean, on it. I know that wasn't in the first original part of it, but, you know, and then the ease of just playing, like anyone just booting up and being able to play, which, you know, something... I have a question somewhere in this statement. I was trying to form it earlier, and it has to do with the transition from everybody going to Anthers to play to now they don't even have to worry about that, right? They could just matchmake right there, and there isn't a ranked mode, and I was kind of confused as to why people aren't playing ranked on Anthers.
That is an excellent question.
Yeah, it kind of didn't really make too much sense, and I don't know if you have any sort of relationship with Anther and, you know, what Anther's kind of looks like now. So any thoughts on any of that?
I mean, I've spoken to Anther, and I respect him a lot. I think what he did for the scene is great. And you know, I'd always considered like making like a better sort of like matchmaking sort of system or whatever, but it wasn't something I was gonna do because I felt like it wasn't gonna be much of a value add. And what I mean by value add is like it wasn't gonna add that much to the scene. Like it was just gonna be like a little better, right? But when I was like, but I kind of want to do a rollback, and then that's when I was like, man, I feel like I can make this experience just like so much better. But to answer your question, I think originally, that's what I expected, right? I knew that I was releasing without ranked, and I knew that like that probably meant people were going to keep using Anthers to play ranked, and I'm surprised people really haven't. It definitely shocks me because it's like I know people want it, and it's not like you can't just use Anthers and then connect with direct codes, you know, like connect codes. So
yeah, it would be just easier than ever, even too. So
yeah, I'm not really sure. I don't really know why people haven't done that. It's probably just because of the ease of just clicking go on unranked, versus going on Anthers, right?
yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it has to be. But you would think people really miss, you know, when Anthers was in its heyday, as far as melee goes, there were people that played just strictly ranked and they played strictly friendlies, and I mean, some people bounced around, but you think the people that were like always looking for good competition and serious competition and cared about this stuff would have kept going. And I remember, I mean, it immediately fell off as far as I know. I mean, the first thing I did was I you know, are people still playing ranked, and it was empty, you know.
Yeah,
Not,
yeah. I believe the drop off was quite fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I mean, obviously, like I said, I really have a ton of respect for Anther, and I think like, you know, I was hoping that at least, you know, PM would still use it or whatever. And I think they do maybe,
Yeah,
but obviously it wasn't as big as Melee.
When I talk about Anther to other people, they say, well, you know, other games are still using it, but you know, I mean, I'm sure that's gotta be a little bit of a blow, and you know that your product is only as good as, you know, the demand for it, and you know, and people wanting it. So, you know, I don't think Anther probably feels like, you know, upset about it. You know, just I mean. And Anther is a like longtime melee player too, so I mean, I'm sure that he loves, you know, the rollback just as much as anybody. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I've always kind of felt that was a little weird. Now, I know you.
Yeah, I mean, people until our ranked is out, use Anthers. Why not?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have that kind of voice to you know, try to get people back on it. It's kind of like, you know, the people that are always saying, like, let's bring back Smash boards or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's another thing where it kind of out of nowhere kind of fell off, you know what I mean? People used to always use Smash boards, and then...
Absolutely, it was huge.
In my experience, it kind of, everyone just kind of moved to, like, Facebook groups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now Discord.
People don't do that either. Yeah, I think Discord is the new big thing now.
So I definitely, I have fond memories of Smashboard and stuff like that. But you know.
Yeah, same. It had its own charm. Like I think like posting your shoutouts threads after every tournament or whatever, I think was pretty cool.
You want to know how crazy I am? I read shout out threads like connected to you when I was doing all my research, and just people like saying like, man, good snake there, like good those shout out threads were real.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, it was also nice to just like thank the person who housed you, right? Which I don't even know like how much things are like that anymore. Maybe it's just because I'm older, right? But you know, back then it was just like you would ask someone to house you, and then you would just like crash on their floor or whatever, and it was just like a very homey sort of feel. Whereas now, you know, I don't know if I'd even want to do that. I'd probably just stay in a hotel room or something. But
I think it's just us getting a little older and being a little more funny. But I mean, being a young, broke, like starry-eyed smasher, just there was nothing better. You know what I mean? Just doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I thought it hit me.
But oh yeah, I've housed a million people, been housed. I mean, that whole, just I've been exposed to so many different kind of like cultures and places, and you know I've definitely had good housing, bad housing all around. But you know, the stories that you live to tell they're amazing.
Yeah.
I definitely
for sure.
I've housed a good amount of people, and I've actually, on multiple occasions, housed a lot of Canadian melee players from back then. You know, people like Ryan Ford, Raynex, Kirby Kaze, Toronto
Yeah.
Joe, you know, and met those guys and, you know, built relationships with them, which is, you know, I wouldn't have, you know, really had that strong of a connection with if I didn't just be like, yep, you could stay with me at my mother's house. And I told her the drinks are cool and I have so many floors in this place, you wouldn't believe it. And everyone,
Yeah, absolutely. It was something else. It was
yeah, so
definitely have some fun memories as well.
the Smashboards era, it was definitely great. So okay, so we started talking about Anthers and ranked mode, and you've said that it's in the pipeline. You're working on it now. I don't want to ask for like a timetable because I know, you know, you're probably of the same belief as me, where it's, you know, I'm not gonna do anything until it is polished, great, good, feels good. The majority of the bugs are out. You know, you're not doing any service by giving someone wants early, right?
Right.
So, but no timeline, but you feel confident in the development of it, that it'll be something, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I hate deadlines. I think like generally, especially arbitrary deadlines, it's like I think it can lead people to work way too hard, do like suboptimal work, lead to like bad maintainability in the future. Oh, nice, etc.
Yeah, no, I definitely.
So I don't give any timelines about anything. I just do it, and I just work on stuff, and when it's ready, and that's just how it is. So you know, people always ask, you know, where's ranked? Realistically, though, like, you know, there's so many forms of ranked that could come out. Like the very basic ranked is very easy. Is I don't want to say very easy, but like fairly not too difficult. Which would be just like a different, you know, option where you like play against people your skill level or whatever, and the skill level's maintained. But there's just a lot that needs to go around that to make it good, right? So that's like, for example, you probably want like a leaderboard on the website or whatever, right? Maybe you want to be able to see your rank in game. That's like a very simple thing, but that's definitely time. But additionally, more explicitly, like, there's so many ways to be degenerate in Melee that we've banned, right? Like, for example, excessive stalling is banned in tournaments, and like online you can't just call over a TO and be like, hey, this guy is like doing this bullshit. Right. So we need a way to deal with that, and there's a lot of things like that, right? Like, we need to be able to deal with what happens when there's a desync, what happens when there's a bad connection. Because once ranked is on the line, I think people will get more upset about those things, right? So in order to make ranked good, it kind of requires all of that, and that's kind of where ranked gets to be more of like a very multi-month endeavor versus just being like maybe, you know, a 1 month endeavor.
So what's your process if you know, you just mentioned a bunch of things of like, you know, what do we do in this situation, what do we do in this situation, what is your process? I mean, how many people do you work with and take ideas from and like questions from to kind of flesh out? Is it just you know, your team, your dev team right there, or through your Discord?
It depends. It depends on what the issue is. Sometimes I'll ask top players. Sometimes I'll just ask my, you know, the developer. Sometimes I'll post more publicly on Discord. Sometimes I'll do a Twitter poll.
Right.
Like, it kind of just depends on what I feel is like the best.
Twitter polls. The people who vote for your Twitter polls.
Yeah.
Have done me a disservice. But okay, yeah. So you depends on the problem at hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously, you know, you guys can't think of everything. You know, some suggestion is, you know, better than none. You know, I mean, you might like miss something, or you know, you test it enough, and you know, you get a feel for it. Yeah, that process is always so interesting. Like, even when I form like questions I want to ask and the talking points, like I want to run it by a couple people and like, please add anything that you think I should talk about, or like something I should touch on, you know, in everything I do.
Absolutely. There's always things you'll forget and not think of, and talking to somebody is always helpful, I think.
Right, just sharing all that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so no, you gave us a lot of good information on, the idea, the processes you go through for, getting us our precious rank. We
Yeah.
need
I
points,
mean, I
Fizzi.
wanted to. I wanted to. I realistically, like, I think I would probably play more if there was a rank mode
Yes. How often
than
do you
I do
play?
now. It depends. I think the last 2 weeks, the last week, I probably played for maybe 4 hours of unranked, and I think for me that's actually kind of a lot. So I don't really play that much anymore. But yeah, I mean, maybe with ranked, I'll be more inclined to play. I think recently I've played more Rocket League than I've played Melee still, even after releasing rollback. But the difference is that, like,
You spend
with
so much
rollback out,
time.
when I feel like playing, I'll actually play. Whereas, like, beforehand, if I felt like playing, I would not go on Anther. It was just too much work to find an opponent and everything. So
No, I definitely
yeah.
feel that. So yeah, we talked about a lot of ranks. So what else do you have kind of in the pipeline, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think right now, so a lot of people were asking about this, but obviously, I launched the broadcasting, right, which allows people to basically run tournaments more easily. And I launched kind of like a sort of quicker version of that. Like, I wanted to do more with it, but because of free melee and everything, I just wanted people to be able to, run their events that they want to run.
Right.
And I made a Twitter post about this as to why I prioritize broadcasting over ranked. Because while I was working on that, I wasn't working on ranked. And I've done a lot of thinking on ranked, but honestly, even now, I still haven't done that much work on ranked. If any, really, it's mostly just been kind of brainstorming and thinking of ideas as to how to solve the harder problems, which is still useful. I think it's still work, but I plan on working on it soon. And I think what I'm working on now, which is kind of like what after what I'm working on now is when I'll start working on ranked. Is while I was working on broadcasting and other stuff, there's a lot of Slippi is open source, right? So there's a bunch of community contributions that have come in that I just haven't had the time to, like, try to merge and spend my time, like, bringing it in and making sure it's okay and bug free and so on, right? So right now, what I'm focusing on is getting in those community contributions, and that includes things like chat options on the character select screen, so people can at least, like, say some simple things to each other, like GGs and so on. A friend code sort of history, not so much like a friends list like I know people want. Maybe that'll come in the future, but that's a bit more complicated. But, like, if you've typed a friend code before, it'll, like, auto complete for you. Whoa.
But yeah, okay.
What else? But anyway, yeah, that kind of stuff. And those aren't things that I've actually personally done. It's just, like, it takes some time to bring it all together and put it all in the same build and make sure it all works and everything.
Right. So, what are the most common things besides rank that people like kind of ask you, like, oh, when is I mean, obviously doubles is something that a lot of people
Yes, yeah. Yeah, doubles is probably the other most requested thing. We have a Notion, which is a website that, like, people can put in feature requests and upvote it. I think the most upvoted feature is, like, what I mentioned before, which is a friends list. Although you don't see that many people come in and ask, like, hey, when's the friend list coming out, right? The only thing I've really committed to so far is ranked, right? And I haven't committed to anything beyond that. That's not to say I won't do anything beyond that, but I think that's why people ask for ranked so much. Is because I've already said I'm gonna do it, right? So it's like, why isn't it out yet? Why isn't it out yet? So on. Yeah.
So now, I want to frame for the people watching, the people listening. I want to make a disclaimer that this what I'm about to ask does not mean, when is this happening, if it's happening, if it's even possible. But do you have any, like, have you foreseen and thought of any, like, what is your wildest, like, dream features, you know what I mean, when this thing is, super almost.
Yeah. I've discussed this slightly on some other interviews, but I think one of the things that would be so cool to me is there's a lot of steps involved here. First is making AI better at Melee.
Mm-hmm.
So basically making an AI that is actually good at Melee, understands, good combo trees and like good option selection and so on, right? So that's step one. And that alone would be cool because, you can play against it and maybe practice and learn something, especially if you're a top player, if it's really good. I mean, the goal would be obviously that it's like able to compete with a top player. But the thing is, once you have that, you can do some really cool stuff that you can, probably my thinking has been heavily inspired by chess with regards to this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like
chess is hot right now, hot in the street.
Yeah. But imagine you could you could analyze a bunch of your games, right? And like have the AI basically pick out your mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like a general concept, but more specifically, maybe like it could show you situations where you often maybe do something slightly suboptimal, and then maybe instead it could like say, hey, these are the situations. It could show you them, right? Like with the replay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it could maybe also show you like, hey, this is maybe what you could have done instead, and it like visually shows you that because it knows how to play the game, right? So it's just like, this is the combo tree that would have gotten you like a stronger punish or maybe a stock or something, right? I think that kind of stuff would be really cool for like improving the overall play. I'm super excited to see kind of like where Melee goes with even just Slippi
like
as
that.
it is now.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that especially, but even with Slippi as it is now, I think people are playing so many more hours than probably they were before. People are getting so much better, and I think Melee is a beautiful game. It's so deep, and I'm so interested to see like how the meta develops, how good the play ends up being, and so on. So
I'm super excited for the term that is gonna come to be. It's gonna be called Slippi kids, where they do nothing but Slippi. And I've always made the joke where if I had to guess about the super large amount of people that play this game right now, I would say only 50, that might even be a little generous, 50% have ever played one-player mode, have unlocked a character, have, went through the normal process.
Yeah.
I mean?
That's
they
an
just
interesting.
jump straight
It's an interesting thought for sure.
And
yeah.
I always think about that. I'm like, there is no way you and I are playing the same game if you didn't leave your GameCube on overnight so you can play this character and get stomped by Fizzi 90 times.
Yeah. I saw a thread about the Slippi kid thing you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
People are suggesting the term tadpole, which I think is kind of cute.
That's kind of cute.
I don't know if it'll stick. There's probably other contenders, but yeah.
Yeah, no,
We'll
definitely. Yeah, time will tell. I never know how these things stick, but yeah, sometimes they do. But no, it's very interesting. You think about just changing the AI of Melee. Kind of that's not even like a crazy like Slippi goal like feature, but that's like gonna move into what I think is the future of Smash in general, which is I don't like right now that we are subtracting from Melee in the sense of getting rid of more things, getting rid of things like POW, getting rid of things like, some like stages, stuff like that. I think we should only be adding, you know what I mean, at this point. And someone in our Twitter poll for this asked a question which I am very interested in the answer to. Not that this is very, like, your domain very, because I know there have been people who've done this. I've seen custom stages. You know what I mean? In like
Yeah.
Achilles 20XX, there are things like a WarioWare. There are things like that. I have always thought that one day, hopefully, we can get everyone on board and like, you know what, maybe like try a season of like this stage and see how people feel about it, like these custom stages. I know characters is super hard, super theoretical, super. That's not something you could just really do right now, but we can do stages. And I've always, if there's anything I could do to push that idea or just get someone to co-sign that idea, I'd love that. Because
I just want to say that specifically for people making those stages, can you please stop making back wall jump off of the edge? Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
It's really infuriating because I always press back to get off the edge, and on a lot of those custom stages, it just makes me wall jump, and it's infuriating.
Right. I believe that is because you can do that on a straight wall. Most characters can Doraki jump on a straight wall, is what it is, if I understand that mechanic correctly. So I don't think that, like, Dreamland right here, that's not a straight vertical wall here that we're looking at.
Yeah, it's interesting that all of the normal stages, or all the competitive viable stages, don't have that mechanic. So, but yeah, anyway. Sorry, that was a bit of an aside. But okay, so this is kind of a difficult question because realistically, I wish I could say yes, but for reasons I don't super want to get into, what I'm trying to do with Slippi as much as possible is recreate the vanilla experience online, right? So make it as close to playing in person on a CRT with somebody else, right? And that is my goal, and that is what I want to stick to. I don't necessarily want to experiment with, adding things. Yeah.
Now, I get exactly what you're saying, because Slippi is like the process, and you're trying to, just make the gameplay better. What we're talking about right now is more so like, changing Melee, not changing the way we play Melee. Now,
right.
If, a project...
And I'm not trying to change Melee.
Right. Yeah, no, that's not what, your mission is. That would be what my mission would be, I guess. But, I would love that if one day, that gets more fleshed out and, we add, a little more to Melee, a couple stages, things like that. Maybe, like you have a kind of an idea later for, like, the AI, you know what I mean? We can really kind of make Melee a little different.
So specifically when I talk about the AI, I'm not talking about like integrating it in the game code. It's more like it would be like an external program that would control a player port, right? And read game state, and then it would be like kind of like a neural net or reinforcement learning style AI. There have been some of these, by the way. One really interesting one is called Philip, made by XPilot. And he's done AIs with reinforcement learning that had like, 18 frames delay or something like that, like human sort of reaction time. And the way it plays is really cool. It's really interesting. I mean, it's not like as good as a top player or anything, but like it's pretty decent. It's pretty good. And that it's kind of a step in the right direction, and I just want to see that kind of advance even more. And people are talking about that in the Slippi Discord too. There's people working on that kind of thing. People are also working on what's called imitation learning, which is trying to learn from human replays, which is a slightly different problem. But all that stuff is super interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope to see a future where we kind of get back on that horse, and because we all need to get a Melee ISO, you know what I mean? Maybe, hopefully one day we can kind of just tweak this one a little bit, or maybe just the standard ISO that we play with Slippi would be something that had a little more features. I'm sure they'd have to work with you and vice versa to get that done, but I was, that's always been something I've been super...
Yeah, once again, my goal and what I'm trying to do with Slippi is, vanilla Melee, but online.
Well, I'm glad you said that. That's gonna transition into something that I wanted to get into, but I'll get into that just a...
And I once again, I think I have reasons for that. I have very good reasons for that, but it's not something I really want to get into right now.
Yeah, so before I get kneed 23 more times, I do want to bring up, everything that's going on with, like, the free melee and the save smash and the Splatoon, I mean, kind of. So, Big House gets canceled, right? Nintendo, through its, processes, figure out how we're going to do this. I mean, I'm sure they were like, how are they going to do, this that brought you to, shutting it down because of the use of Slippi, which, is tragic. And, I mean, we understand it, but we don't, right? And, I mean, we could see both sides, even though, But has anyone... I mean, you probably don't answer this if you can't, but has anyone reached out to you and, tried to stop, like, what you're doing? Probably something you don't want to get into.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to answer or not.
Well, I'm sure
all I will say is that all I will say is I have spoken to lawyers about this stuff. That's all I will say.
Okay. All right. Now, maybe just in your facial expression right now, your talks with lawyers, good, bad, I don't know.
I don't really want to elaborate.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to elaborate. So.
Yeah. I figured it would be very touchy, but I mean
But something I can say is if you're interested in like a video that explains sort of like kind of some of the legality stuff involved, I think it's Hoeg Law, Hoeg Law. They do YouTube videos with like legal analyses and stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, you can look it up. They talked about the big house shutdown of Slippi, or the big house shutdown and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely foresaw this being a sticky subject. I would just be remiss if I didn't at least mention it a little bit. But the support from like Splatoon and like I mean, people are even still to this day, anytime Nintendo posts something, it's free Smash, free, Melee, save Smash, they definitely know. I mean, do you have any, wild hopes or dreams of, Nintendo kind of coming to their senses? It's very easy for me to say they never will. You know what I mean? You can't, stop. I mean, they.
Oh man, it's hard. It's hard to say. I think there's a very major issue in the fact that Nintendo is a Japanese company, and I think my sense from hearing about like all of the I'll say fallout from everything that happened, right, is that the Japanese people don't really get it. I don't think they really understand sort of like what free melee is about.
Yeah, there was someone, and it was my first thought is just they probably think that we're upset that melee is not free, as in like cost $0.
Yeah, and that's something I've mentioned too. Is like maybe if I were to like go back and suggest a different hashtag, it would be maybe like liberate melee or something more explicit. Because obviously when we say free, we don't mean like we don't want to buy the game. We have the game, right?
We would buy it. I mean, everyone who.
Yeah, I'd buy it plenty of times. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying, and it's just kind of a weird situation where, I mean, if you ask me how this is gonna settle, it's not, and it's kind of gonna be like this like taboo kind of thing. And you know what? I think maybe we'll get to the point where we do have something like a big house. Again, it's just not going to get really interfered with because they'd rather just like... They at least showed you once that they disapprove and they don't want this to happen. You know what I mean? Now, if they want to fight that battle every time, that's up to them. I don't see them doing that. They showed us, what they're capable of first, and... you're never going to kill the Smasher spirit. We are going to want to play this game, forever. and right now this is
Yeah.
the only way we can play, and we're gonna fight for what little we have, which we always have. We've run into these kind of
Yeah.
problems all the
What the hell?
time.
Yeah.
I can explain
What
why
little
that
we
happens.
have, I think, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's
we have not been given anything.
right.
We have worked for everything we have, and it's like that's kind of crazy, right? It's like that means that we are an entity that goes well beyond the game, right? And it's like it feels, at least to us, a little bit unfair because like we created this, not you. Like we understand you created the game, but you did not create the community. You did not create like this fervor. So yeah, it sucks. But obviously they're the copyright holder and they're allowed to shut down a stream whenever they want for whatever reason they want, or no reason at all.
Yeah.
As to going back to like whether I think they'll get it, or however you want to frame it, I don't know. I'm not very hopeful, but who knows?
Right.
I can only hope that some people at the company do, and maybe it allows them to. It helps them leave us alone a little bit, not try to be so aggressive about taking things down. But I realistically, I don't know.
Right, yeah. I'm sure everyone who has thought about this issue has had, some sort of, the word I would say is fantasy of, Melee coming to their senses. They hire Fizzi, they release Melee again, and, I just, as great as the story as that would be, I don't see anything like that happening.
It's funny too because I've thought about the hire Fizzi thing, and it's like, let's try to think that through a little bit further, right? Like, let's not just like go one step and be like, oh, they hire Fizzi and everything's fixed, right? It's like,
right. They
realistically,
and they work them like a dog, and they give them
no,
deadlines.
it's a PR move, and like they don't intend to do anything. Is my bigger concern, right? Because it's like, realistically, the heart of the issue here is at the higher levels, there is a severe dislike with what we do. I don't know if it's like everything we do. I know that like they're not. I think Nintendo is kind of against the idea, even in general, of just playing video games for money, right? They want people to play video games to just have fun, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I think like that's a very high level concept, and I don't think that's gonna like me getting hired is not going to change that, right? And I think like that is just gonna like I feel like the culture is the problem probably, and like the thinking at the company. And I think if they hire me, I would be very, very worried that it would be like this PR move where realistically there's no intention. Ooh, that was nice. There's no intention to actually get anything worthwhile done. It's just like to try to shut up the community. So yeah, so it would be, I don't think it's going to even happen anyway, but if it did, that would be a bigger concern of mine.
Just, I'm sure a lot of people have had that daydream where, it all works out. But, right now, I'm pessimistic, but, you never know. And, but all signs point to just like our whole existence, you're on your own. And, kind of the way we prefer it, But
yeah, it's tricky, right? It's like, do we prefer it? I think it's been great. I think it's been like what we've done is amazing, right? But it's like, at least I'm of the belief that a game like Melee should be one of the biggest esports ever. Like in the sense that I think this game is so unbelievably deep, unbelievably incredible that it could just be played forever. And I think it'd be great. Like I would want it to live on the time scale of a game like chess or something like that, right? And I think it's just like realistically, with Nintendo, I don't even know if that's possible. So I don't know.
I guess my point would be because this innovation that we, things that you've done, things that Dan Salvato, Achilles, you know, I mean, Nintendo would never think, like, even if they were like, all right, you know what, everyone likes Melee. Let's give them Melee again. I mean, outside of just re-releasing it like a port, I mean, do you really think that Melee, or they're gonna like give us the things we want?
You're asking me if I think they're gonna release Melee with rollback netcode, in-game matchmaking.
I mean, even the
not
even
not
the
PAL.
stuff that you've done. Yeah, not
Yeah.
PAL. Just like, you know, the tools that we use, like 20XX, like hitboxes, Uncle Punch,
Yeah.
training mode. I mean, we
Yeah.
have the power, I think, to make an incredible, you know what I mean, version of Melee. And if Nintendo were to step in and, you know, hear us out and you know, kind of be like, all right, we're gonna do something for Melee. All it's gonna do is it's gonna be a port. It's gonna be just Melee on the Switch or whatever. I think that the future of Melee
Probably
is
with
better,
more lag.
with more lag, and the future of Melee is
Yeah.
better in our hands than it is in theirs. I just hope that, you know, one day they just kind of let us do our thing. And that's always going to be a battle, you know what I mean? Like I said before, I think this is going to just kind of blow over a little bit. You know, I think that we are going to be able to, we'll try to run big tournaments again, and they're just going to, they saw the backlash and they'd rather just let it happen than suffer that kind of backlash again, is what I think would happen. And but it's not going to be the last time we hear from Nintendo, and, you know, we as Melee players will fight that battle all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a pickle, definitely, you know, on the forefront of the decisions we're making right now. But, you know, I really hope, I don't know, like this 5 days of Melee that people are watching right now, you know, I just hope that Nintendo gets a whiff of it and they see, you know, the lives it's changed, and we all play this game and it's kind of crazy, and we're so fanatic about it, and we got people that dedicate their lives to it. I mean, quite literally, like, dedicate their lives to it, and just, you know, it can't be, you can't look at that and be like, the first thing you think of is like, man, I can't believe they're stealing Melee. You know what I mean? They didn't pay for it. I don't know. You know what I mean? So
it's unfortunate.
It really is. So let's get on to a lighter note. I have 10 stocks, so I got a couple more talking points. I always think I'm not gonna have enough, and then as time. But I've, in my research, you know what I mean, you're into rock climbing, you know what I mean, that's like a thing you do.
Yes.
How do you get into that? You know what I mean? That's not a very normal thing that people are into.
I think it's growing. I think the popularity is going up. Unfortunately, since COVID hit, I actually haven't been climbing very much, which is really disappointing. I really want to start it up again. But I think I started because there was an intern working where so I used to work at Johnson & Johnson, and I think when I was working there, an intern started, and she was into it. And she got like some of the other interns to go, and I wasn't an intern, but I worked on the same team as her, and she invited me. And it was just a lot of fun. Like, I think it's there's like, you know, it's like problem solving, but also like, you know, you work on your physical strength and so on, and it's like it's just a great thing to do. It's a really good activity, and I've made a ton of really good friends, and I've driven really far to go to outdoors locations and stuff, and I'm just really glad I picked it up. It's a great hobby.
Oh yeah. I always thought it was super interesting. I love, you know, when, you know, people of the community are like also like super into like something else, that like super hobbies. And I wanted to tell you that you're not the only rock climber. I used to climb one specific rock, and it used to come out of Pokemon Stadium, and you know, after like a minute or so, and I wanted to transition into that question, which is I've heard why, you know what I mean, Pokemon Stadium is frozen right now, and why music isn't playing and stuff like that. I understand your explanation for that. Do you have any? Now, the question I'm gonna ask, and this is something that I ask a lot of people, and I'm I love to hear the answers to it, because we have a situation right now where we're even questioning the legality of Transformation Stadium. You know, people have for a while now have been talking about freezing it, and my idea, and quite honestly, my fear, is that we're gonna go so long without it that people are just gonna be like, well, we didn't even have it for a year and a half, 2 years. I don't even want it back. Which, to me, when you're talking about player versus player game like this, like Melee, I don't think that it is terrible to have little parts where it is also, me and you are playing, but I mean, there are things about our environment changing, and we both have to adapt. You know what I mean? We already have. I mean, there are people that want to get rid of every single little detail about Melee, and I love the details of Melee. To the people that want to freeze Melee, I want to show you 900 cool things I know about, the stadium transformations and stuff like that. But I do fear that that is going to be the rationale of finally freezing it, thus losing a little more Melee.
Yeah, I understand the fear for sure, and the truth is I didn't freeze it because I wanted to, right? I froze it. I would need to have a very, very large conversation with the community before I decided to just freeze it because I wanted to. Now, remember earlier we talked about the time required to change the 99 stock thing, right? Oh, I thought you had it.
I wanted to do that at least once. I saw my stocks. And I was like, I could do that, but I forgot.
So I talked about changing the 99 stock thing is maybe a 2-minute change, right? Dude, getting music working and getting file reads to work in game, that is not a small task, and it's also not a task that I can even cost right away. It's one of the tasks. It's one of those tasks where it's a lot of research and trying to figure it out. And it's just extremely costly. And the problem is the payoff, what we get back for it, right now is just not worth it. Would you rather I spend a month doing that and maybe it doesn't even work, versus just working on ranked, right? And I think that's kind of the issue.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. And I'm glad that you said that you wouldn't just freeze it to freeze it. And I kind of grinned. I hope I can go back and see when you said I just want to create vanilla Melee as players. Yeah. And I might have been nodding my head because I'm such a fan of I mean, I if you know anything about me, and you know that I dabble in the smallest little details, and I love the expression of Melee and things like that, and you're talking to a guy who is dabbled in specifically wanting, I made my friends all play 1.0 with me for a little bit. Same with PAL and stuff like that, because I wanted to show off cool things that I thought of. Little details. And I just, I really don't want to lose any more Melee. I would only be okay with adding more Melee. But,
right.
Yeah, definitely. When you find, and I'm glad you're kind of on my team here, because it's a lot of people kind of piggyback the.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I will say I don't think I am on a team, right? I think it's more I think I want to do what's best for the community. The team I am on it is true. I do want to recreate vanilla Melee, and I think to that end, that would be have transformations. And maybe that's a good enough argument, but I am also curious about what is best for the community, and I don't feel like I'm the one to decide that, right?
Right.
And there are people that tell me I should, and then there are people telling me that I shouldn't, right? And it's like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. I hate that you know, so many people. I feel like they just, without thinking, they kind of piggyback top player opinion, uh, and it's really disheartening sometimes. You know,
Yeah.
that I feel like it's a war we're gonna lose. I think we're gonna lose it, but I will do everything I can, and you know, if I I'll try to lead by example. I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna convince people, you know, that melee or the transformations. I actually have thought about that specifically a lot, and it kind of ties back into what we were talking about earlier, where we have the technology to create stages. Why don't we just create transformations that we like? Better suited for Pokemon Stadium. I've talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, if we lose any more melee, we're just going to be playing 3 stages. It's going to be all Fox. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have more questions too, we can always maybe like you could play a character that's not Mewtwo for a little bit. We could play a few stocks, if you want. It's up
I
to
would
you.
love you to just end this by Falcon punching me out of my misery.
Yeah.
Send me off, sir.
Yeah.
I took 50. If you think about it, that's I took 1 stock to year 2, as good as you could imagine. But
It's
yeah.
not an easy match.
But
Sure.
yeah, I think we kind of talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Let me quickly check. Yeah, I think we had a real good, and we're right on time with the time limit they gave me. So
Nice.
yeah, anything else you want to like mention to anybody? Anything.
I mean,
5 days of melee. Slippi stuff.
I mean, obviously, I think thanks everyone for the support as always. The donations and the Patreon stuff really help to keep me comfortable, continuing to work on this because I mean, I'm doing this full time right now, so it always helps. And it's not cost free either. So
definitely.
and everyone's been so supportive, so it's been great. And if people do want to, I guess I'll plug it. It's patreon.com/Fizzi36, or you can go to slippy.gg/support, and you can do direct donations there as well. But yeah, I mean, thanks everyone for sure. It's been awesome. I mean, since the release, the public reception, like I said, a bunch of people messaging me about how happy they are about the existence of rollback and stuff. So it's great.
All right, yeah, I think that about does it. Yeah, definitely. If you can, if this is something that is a major part of your week or your day, and you still, I mean, if you're using this, I mean, I would say everyone owes you a little bit. For sure. I mean, but what you've done is so great. I'm so thankful, and I'm glad I got to meet you and talk to you about all this.
Yeah.
Like I said,
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was great.
So you got his Twitter right underneath him, Fizzi36, and then his Patreon for sure. If you can find, a couple spare bucks to donate his way, you already see what kind of product you get, so know that your money's kind of in good hands. Yeah. So, and then if you're a fan of what you just watched, these kind of long 99 stock matches, it's kind of almost like a podcast, like a guest kind of like podcast thing. I got my YouTube channel, PGH Carroll, same on Twitch. You can follow me on Twitter underneath me at ogirlnc. If you want more of me, follow those. If you want to see more of Fizzi, just stay alive because he's not going anywhere, and you're going to be hearing from him. And I think that about wraps up what we're to do here. Keep watching for more 5 days of melee. This whole week, all the content that people have been working on, it's so great.
It's really cool.
And I hope this can almost be like an annual thing, and we could just, there's nothing better than Smash coming together for a cause, and just highlighting the immense amount of talent that people who play this game and have this connection to this game can show off in a different way. So yeah, that about wraps it up. My name is PGH Carroll. This is Fizzi, and thank you for watching.
Bye, chat.
See you guys.